Hi, everyone, and welcome to our 2026 Tree Sale Offering Showcase. I'm Madison Wisniewski, Conservation Implementation Specialist here at Franklin Soil and Water Conservation District.
And my name is Annabelle Springer, Urban Conservation Program Coordinator.
Hi, I'm Maddie Moats. I'm the AmeriCorps member serving with Franklin Soil and Water.
Just to give you a quick overview of our 2026 tree sale, orders are accepted January 5th through March 22nd, so that means they are open now. Our pickup days are Friday, April 10th and Saturday, April 11th. Any orders that are not collected Saturday at 12:01 p.m. will be donated to local conservation groups. So if you cannot find someone to, or if you cannot pick up your order, please find someone who can do so. This year we are offering 21 tree and shrub species. Our theme is succession.
So each year we try to choose a specific theme for our native tree and plant sale offerings. And this year's theme is a nod to our urban conservation specialist, Dave Reuter, who's retiring after 20 years at the district. As we succession plan for his retirement, we're also learning about succession planting through his picks for our tree sale species. Ecological succession refers to the transformation or maturation of a forest or ecosystem over time. This change is gradual and predictable if you can understand the driving factors behind it, such as soil, light, moisture, geology, geomorphology, or outside factors such as fragmentation and loss, or invasive species. Planting with succession in mind means thinking a little further into the future than we typically would. So that means not just planting that shrub or forb for 10 to 20 years, but also planting that oak tree for the next 100 to 200 years. And thinking more about how this land will transform over time. When we're thinking about ecosystems, we frequently refer to the Natural Resources Conservation Service ecological site descriptions, which we'll give you the link for that later. These descriptions identify what type of ecosystem we're looking at, identify key aspects of its geology, geomorphology, and plant communities, and give us insight into how we can expect the landscape to look as it does its gradual march through ecological succession. Take a shot at looking up your ecological site description for your area to get a sense for what plants would be best suited for your property. You can plant a fast-growing tree for quick shade, start an old growth tree species for the future, or get some short-term coverage or screening with shrubs, ground cover, and grasses. Some of the tools that you can use to decide what to plant on your property: the web soil survey from NRCS to determine what kind of soil type you have, whether that's clay, sand, urban soils, etc. Just be aware that this is not 100% accurate on the scale of an urban yard. You can also use ecological site descriptions from NRCS, as we mentioned earlier. Another website we love is Shade Map, which determines how much sun you can get throughout the day and through certain times of the year. And when we are looking up specific plants and their needs, we usually use the USDA Plants database or the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center database. And I'm going to hand it back over to Madison. She's going to go through our shrubs for the year.
So this year we are selling 8 different species of shrubs. Our shrubs come in bundles of 10 for $20. The purpose of shrubs is to create a nice understory environment for wildlife. A lot of these shrubs also provide a lot of benefits to pollinators. So a shrub is defined as a small to medium-sized woody plant. So typically they do have multiple stems, but you can prune them in a way that they can grow more like a small tree. So let's get into some of those species. First, we're offering American hazelnut. So as you can see, we have the scientific name listed. I am not going to try to pronounce all these scientific names, but if you're doing further research on these plants, we do recommend that you look them up by their scientific name, because a lot of these species do have multiple common names. Some of them overlap. They can be very confusing. So the American hazelnut is an American classic. If you've ever had a hazelnut itself or hazelnut flavored coffee or any kind of thing like that. This is the nut that you would be consuming, so they are very tasty. They are also tasty for wildlife, so they're great for providing a food source for local critters. They can grow pretty tall, so they can create a privacy fence if you have a neighbor you don't want to see or some kind of utilities you want to block. This would be a great plant for you. Northern Bayberry, this is a staff favorite. It has a similar look to a rhododendron or a mountain laurel. It has very attractive leaves, very attractive berries. It doesn't grow quite as tall, so privacy screening is maybe not, this is not the plant for that, but they are very salt tolerant. So if you're looking to plant maybe by a roadway or next to a driveway, this would be a good plant for that. They're pretty adaptable for a lot of urban sites as well, but they do prefer it a little bit drier. So keep that in mind if you have heavy clay soils. The high bush cranberry, so these prefer moist to well draining soils, kind of loamy soils, so more soils higher in organic material. These are pretty adaptable as well for those urban environments. They're also salt tolerant, so if you have some questionable sites, this would be a good one for you. Gray dogwood, this is just a super hardy plant. They can grow in most conditions from full sun to deep shade. They can tolerate many different soil types. They do grow pretty tall, so this would be another one good for privacy screening. Also provides lots of food sources for pollinators, for birds, great for other wildlife. It is just a super, super hardy plant. You can't go wrong with the gray dogwood. The spice bush, this is everybody's favorite. It not only is so cute, it smells amazing. It has very attractive flowers. It has beautiful red berries. It's the host plant for the beloved spice bush swallowtail caterpillar, as pictured here. So if you're looking to bring some interesting wildlife into your yard, this would be a good one. This is also a great plant for areas with deep shade. They can take somewhere between part shade to deep shade. They are a classic understory shrub. Often see them in woodlands. They do prefer well-drained soils and they do like a little bit of moisture. They don't really like to dry out. Staghorn sumac. So this plant we would not recommend for a small urban lot, but more so if you have a larger property. They do grow in these dense groves or thickets, which provides great habitat for wildlife, but maybe not so much if you have a small yard. They do have very attractive fall color and their flowers can be made into lemonade. So yeah, definitely a plant for a larger area. They can grow up to 25 feet tall, and they prefer dry to medium soils and full sun to part shade. Sweet shrub is an homage to Dave's Florida roots. So this plant is a really attractive shrub. It has very fragrant, interesting flowers. The flowers are so fragrant, which is what gives it the name sweet shrub. It does better in full sun, but also tolerates part shade and deep shade.
And next, we're gonna move on to the 2026 small tree offerings. These trees would typically be considered understory trees and things that can act as nurse trees, so providing habitat, interest, and wildlife benefits as your larger and more longer lived trees mature. Starting off strong with a heavy hitter, another one of everybody's favorites, the downy serviceberry. This is a great tree that can tolerate a wide variety of conditions, sandy soil to clay soil, occasionally wet, occasionally dry. This makes a really good specimen planting, or a good street tree, and provides tasty berries to humans and birds such as the cedar waxwing. Next, eastern redbud. Dave jokingly calls redbuds weed trees because they'll pop up just about anywhere, so it doesn't make sense to sell them sometimes. But we were a little surprised when he actually picked this for the sale. Redbuds are an amazing spring tree. They provide an important early source of nectar for pollinators. They may be weedy, but we really love them. They don't live as long as something like an oak, so this would be a really great pick as a nurse tree while your oak or larger tree matures. These trees like full sun to part shade, well draining soil, and typically will get 20 to 30 feet tall. Next, the hop tree. This is a great plant for shade. It's got visually interesting seed pods, which is part of where it gets its namesake from, and the bark is very interesting as well. This is another perfect understory plant. It takes part shade to full shade, well draining soil, and will grow 15 to 20 feet tall. Next, musclewood or American hornbeam or ironwood. And now I think we are starting to figure out why Dave tells us that scientific names are more important. This tree can grow 20 to 30 feet tall. It'll take part shade to full shade. It develops a mussel-like appearance on its bark as it grows. This is typically found along stream sides, in wet forests and boggy areas, and doesn't tolerate compaction well. So this might be a better tree for less urban environment. Next, an Ohio classic, our state tree and the namesake of our beloved football team, named after the fact that the nut looks like a male deer's eye, hence Buckeye. Just a quick reminder that Buckeyes are not edible, so let's stick with the peanut butter and chocolate kind. This tree takes full sun to part shade, well draining soil, can grow 20 to 40 feet tall, and has very attractive blooms in the spring and a really great fall color. And I'm going to turn it back over to Madison for 2026 large trees.
Yeah, so these are gonna be more of our slow growers. They're important for the long-term health of our environments, but they are not going to give you that more instant gratification like some of our smaller trees and shrubs will, but they are extremely important. So first we have our bald cypress. So a lot of people associate these growing in swamps, and that is absolutely correct. They do, but they can grow actually in a multitude of environments. So they do make for great street trees. They can be planted in some more urban environments. They do like moisture soils. So definitely if you have fast draining soils, this is maybe not the tree for you. And they do get somewhere between 50 to 70 feet tall. So make sure you have enough room, but they are really gorgeous. They are also a deciduous conifer, which shouldn't make sense, but they do lose their needles in the fall, which makes them very interesting. Bur oak, this is a classic, strong, hardy oak tree. These are long-lived species, so they're gonna take a long time to get to a mature height, but they will live somewhere between 200 to 300 years old. So you'll want to plant one of these along with your other faster growing species. Kind of fill in that again, that we're thinking of succession and creating a habitat not only just now, but in the future. So definitely make sure you have enough space for your bur oak. Next up is hackberry. So this is a kind of weedy tree similar to the redbud. They do grow pretty fast, and they tolerate a wide range of soil types, including those tough urban soils. So if you want a tree that'll grow faster, provide you some shade a little more immediately than say one of our other oak trees, this is for you. They do like full sun, but they can take part shade. So yeah, just another great tree. They can handle drought, pollution, very hardy. The Kentucky coffee tree. Fun fact, it's in the pea family. And so the famous seed pods that come off of the Kentucky coffee tree are sometimes referred to as a megalodon pea, as they date back to when the megafauna roamed the region. And so they're called the Kentucky coffee tree because the peas that you can get out of their pods can be made into coffee, but they can be toxic if you don't roast them right. So we don't recommend trying that on your own. This is another pretty large tree, somewhere between 60 to 75 feet. They can tolerate a variety of soil conditions, but they do not like to stay very wet. So make sure it's a well-draining site that still gets a little bit of moisture, but doesn't stay saturated. The swamp white oak. So despite its name, this tree can grow in a multitude of environments. Can take somewhere between moist and wet soil moisture, but it does like it well draining. Plan to plant it in full sun. This is another one that is a slow grower, but will live a long time. So a great one to plant. Planning to create shade for future generations and not just for ourselves. White pine is the only true coniferous tree we are offering in 2026. So this is classic. Actually, this one is sold in bundles of 20 for $25. And plan to plant this in full sun to part shade. It likes medium moisture. It has very soft needles, so you don't have to worry about poking yourself. It makes for great screening if you're again looking to create some privacy screen on your property or shield from something on your neighbor's property.
And next we'll get into live stakes. These are going to look a little bit different from previous years. Typically, we will offer them in bundles of 5. But live stakes are more suitable for large scale plantings, stream stabilization efforts, places with erosion concerns or conservation plantings. So we are selling these in bundles of 25 for $50 this year. If that sounds like a little bit more than you want to be planting, don't worry, you can actually also harvest live stakes yourself. You can take cuttings from certain plants such as dogwoods or willows right before they leaf out in the spring. First on the list, we have black willow. Willows need to have wet feet. They love being wet. They are fantastic for wetlands or streamside plantings. They take full sun to part shade and they want to be consistently moist. These are pretty quickly growing and their large root systems are great at stabilization and they provide much needed shade for aquatic life. Next up is nannyberry, which is a native viburnum. You are going to find these naturally on woodland edges. This is a large shrub, but it can also, in the right conditions, in full sun conditions, kind of develop into a small tree. It can tolerate drier sites, but shines in low woods or on stream sides. Nannyberry is prone to suckering, so it makes it a useful tool for screening or naturalized areas. Red osier dogwood, again, another favorite of folks. When I think of winter interest with plants, I think of red osier dogwood, also known as red twig dogwood. When the foliage falls in the fall, you will just see the most bright red bark you've ever seen. That is beautiful on a backdrop of white snow. This is also, again, great for areas with erosion, stabilization projects, naturalized areas, things like that. They want to be consistently moist, but they do have a little bit of variety. They can do full sun to part shade. And these will grow about 5 to 9 feet tall.
So when you get your trees, it is very important that you think about how you're going to plant them. So our trees are bare root seedlings and saplings, meaning there's no dirt attached to their roots, just the rootstock. So you'll want to dig a hole deep enough to fit all the roots and twice as wide. You want to backfill that hole with native soils. You want to tamp it into place to remove air pockets and then water it and give it 1 inch of water per week until it's well established. And as you may find out, a lot of these trees have different shaped rootstocks as they come in. So you may have to dig your hole a certain way, depending on how your species look.
And if you're trying to frantically take notes right now, don't worry, we hand out printed instructions on how to plant these plants at the tree sale. And then we've also caught a couple videos and other resources that we can put on the website for you guys. For live stakes, I think these ones are even easier. If it is kind of moist soil out there and then softer soil, you can just stick these right into the ground. You want to go about 2/3 of the way down. If you have more compacted soil or it's drier, you will use a piece of rebar, hammer that in to create a pilot hole, and then put the live stakes in there. And if you're doing this planting, it is also very fun because you're sticking a bunch of sticks in the ground and people might look at you a little crazy, thinking they're going to grow, but these are super cost efficient and a great way to plant new restoration projects and things like that. A couple other guidelines when you're planting, always call 811, always call oops before you dig. Do not plant under or over utilities. So don't be planting under power lines, unless you're sure the tree is not going to grow that much. And then don't be planting over your sewer lines or your gas lines or anything like that. Be aware of where utilities are on your property and make your planting plan around those. Only plant around property that you own. Understand if you have easements on your property, understand where your property line is. And then be aware that the tree lawn, or the devil strip as some people call it, is typically categorized as city or municipal property. One helpful resource is the Franklin County Auditor's website to look at kind of vague boundaries and things like that. And then always plant a safe distance from your house. Look at how tall the tree you're getting is going to grow, and then what kind of spacing it needs for plantings, and then always err on the side of caution.
So here are these very important dates again. The last day to order is March 22nd. Our pickup days are Friday, April 10th from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. So we will be here all day. And if you can't make it on Friday, we will also be here Saturday, April 11th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Anything that is not picked up by 12:01 on April 11th will be donated to local conservation partners. So please make those arrangements for someone else to pick up your order if you cannot make the pickup days, or you can email Annabelle or I and let us know what works for you. So just as a reminder, ordering is open now, so go ahead and place those orders. We do tend to run out of things as we get closer to the close date, so if there's something you really want, I would recommend placing that order as soon as possible. Get your planting plan in place, know where you're going to be planting these trees. It's better to have a plan now than when you pick them up, because you do need to plant them as soon as possible. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to either one of us. Special thanks to Maddie for putting together this presentation, and thanks for listening.
Happy planting.